So in this tutorial is going to be about the ziplining system. So to start off this, I want to say that I have developed the system by my own. So if you have any questions, you can comment down below. And all these project files are going to be down in the description below, so you can access it and get the full project files of this system here. We can start off by creating the blueprint of the zipline. So I have just created this cylinder here. I made it on Blender. Now I'm going to double click on that. And here you have it. I'm going to do it by scratch. So I'm going to create a new blueprint. So how can I do that? So let's right click, create a blueprint class. It's going to be an actor and it's going to be called VP Zipline. Hit enter. And here we have our blueprint. We have default scene root. So I'm going to compile, save, and let's add a new static mesh. So I'm going to drag and drop my static mesh here. Add it to here. So we can stretch this out. I'll save. I'm going to delete my current one here because I don't need it anymore. Going to drag and drop my BP zipline. It's a little bit tricky to place it, so I'm going to go to the top view. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to place it like so. 8.5. Yeah, I think 8.8 worked for me. But it's also going to depend on your level design. Maybe you want a more extended zipline here. But that's going to be it for me. And alright, so now we have our zipline. Now the next thing that I want to add is the sphere in here. So I'm going to add and type sphere. And let's go for the shape, basic sphere. Going to name this sphere start and the other one for sphere end. Now you're going to choose which direction, which place you're going to place your sphere end and sphere start. For me, it's going to be here. This is sphere end, sphere start. Change the color to be blue. And I'm going to show you in the game. Here it is. Here's the start point. Check if that's right. Yeah, sphere start is going to be blue and sphere end is going to be white, as we have here. So we can select both of them. And on the details panel, we're going to tick this option off. Rendering, hitting the game. Take this off because I don't want to see it in the game, of course. Now, I also want to resize this because it's too big. Two. Lock them. Like this. All right. I think we are pretty much done. I think we can compile now, save. And just check for the thickness and the height because we're going to do ziplining here. I think we can place a little bit higher, just like so. So I think that's a considerable size, a considerable height. So what are we going to do now? So basically, let me just put this sphere just a little bit here. I'll save. Now our blueprint is done. We don't need to do anything else in here. So now we're going to work on our character's blueprint. So the first thing I'm going to do here, let's just start showing what I have on my character's blueprint. I have made some changes here, but you can follow the tutorial. You can follow the tutorial normally. It's not going to affect anything. And I have some custom values here. You don't need to worry about that. Now here on the event begin play, I'm going to get actor of class because we need to reference our zipline. So I'm going to type BP zipline. And I'm going to promote a variable out of the return value. And we're going to name this BP zipline. Now let's create 2 booleans. So let's add a new variable here and call this can zipline question mark. And create another variable called is ziplining. Is ziplining. So that's for knowing when we can zipline, when it is possible for us to zipline, and if the character is currently ziplining. When I press F, we're going to spawn a sphere trace. There is an event here called cancel ziplining event. There is an event to simulate the legs. And I have left some other comments here, so I'm going to talk about them later. But first I'm going to try briefly to explain what we're going to do first. Let's suppose our character is right here. This is our character. And we want to attach to the zipline. So when you press F, we want to get the location of where the zipline is. And we can get the location of our character, subtract that, and we can know which location the character should be at in order for us to be attaching the character to the zipline and slide down later. So how we can do that first? Firstly, we need to identify the zipline. So to do that, we're going to spawn a line trace, actually a sphere trace because it's better. It's more precise. And after we spawn our sphere trace, which is going to go from the pelvis to the top, then there's going to be a hit location here. After we hit the zipline here, we're going to get the results of that trace. And by getting the results, we can get the height, the current height that it detected. We're going to get the impact point. And from the impact point, from the current height, we're going to subtract that height and get the actor current height for getting the difference, the value difference of knowing how much the character needs to be upwards in order for us to attach him to the zipline. So let's do that right now. So after pressed here, I'm going to get a branch. And I'm going to drag and drop can zipline. So firstly, we're going to know if the character can zipline. This value is going to be true as default, because the character is always going to be able to zipline in this tutorial. I'm going to add another branch. If the character can zipline, then I'm going to check if he's already ziplining, because maybe we are already ziplining and we are not going to allow it to zipline again if he's already ziplining. So after, if it is false, that means that we that means that we are ziplining for the first time. So we're going to get a sphere trace for objects. This is a pretty good one because it can spread the amount. It's better. It's way better than the line trace because it's going to spawn only one line trace. And this is a sphere, so it's better. I'm going to choose the color. I'm going to choose the debug type for duration for now. Duration. And I'm going to promote object type to a variable, compile. And here on the object types, I'm going to select the one and choose to be word static. Firstly, check if your cylinder is on the word static. Here on the collision presets, let's click here on custom. Object type, we're going to select word static. Let's overlap the camera because I don't want the camera to be glitching through the zipline. And if you want to check if your static mesh has collision, you can double click on them. You can double click on it. Here on collision, you can add, I think, add 26 stop simplified collision. Yeah, that works. So that's one way to generate a collision for us. Now here for calculating where the line trace, where the sphere trace is going to be at, we're going to get socket location of the mesh. We're going to get the pelvis going to add. We're going to add this to start and this to end. And we're going to add the height of 700. Well, the radius is going to be 40. So let's test it out. Let's go to the third person map and hit play. So when you press F, as you can see, a huge sphere trace appears there. But you can choose the amount, the height and everything. You can set the parameters to fit your needs. But for now, I want to do this. As you can see here, when I press F, and as you can see, it hits the zipline, right? So that's the result that you want to have. If it's not hitting, if you don't see like a small square, then you have a problem. Maybe collation problem, I don't know, but you have to figure it out. So let's stick with that. So now after we hit something, as any object, we're going to get a branch. And if it's true, then we hit something. Now we need to find out what object we hit, right? If I were to print a string and say out of hit here, I'm going to break hit results. And I'm going to hit actor, I'm going to print a string and see what we have here. So when I get close to an object and hit F, as you can see on the top left corner, I get BP Zipline. That means that I identified my object. So I'm going to get my BP Zipline here. I'm going to add equal. So if it matches with the zipline, then it's going to be true. If it doesn't match, then it's going to be false. Because I only want to be able to identify zipline. If it identifies my zipline, then we can proceed with the code. Now there is a float result here. This is the distance that it is of the character from the actor that it hits. So for example, we hit the zipline here, and out of the distance, we're going to print out a string. And let's say I want to get what's the distance. So basically, we're getting the distance from my actor to the hit actor, the hit location of the actor. So I press F here. As you can see, I get 164. And when I go here, I get 525. So it's basically the distance between your actor and the hit actor. So we can get, if the distance is less than 230, then we can proceed with the code. Proceed with the execution. Now I'm going to promote the the impact point to a variable. And I'm going to name this impact location. Just going to name this location. Connect that to true. And after that, I'm going to check if our character is moving around. So I'm going to drag and drop our character movement. Get is moving around. And plug that to condition. Now we're going to play a montage. This is going to be our first montage to play. Now we're going to grab the mesh. And here we're going to select our montage. In my case, it's slide start 2. This is the montage I'm going to use. Now, depending if the character is moving around, then I'm going to play this montage because this montage is from the character moving from the ground to the zipline, right? If the character is not moving on ground, then I just want to attach the character to the zipline. So I'm going to drag off this and I'm going to set is ziplining to true. And if the character is on ground, then I'm going to play this montage here, and I want to add a notify state called montage notify window. So it's going to notify whatever this frame is played. So you can just create a montage notify window, and you can adjust it here. So let's get back to it. I'm going to just organize this a little bit. I'll notify begin. I'm going to connect that to here. And I'm going to play word camera shake. I'm just going to add a little bit of camera shaking here. Let's shake. I'm going to add these values for the inner radius and the outer radius. And I'm also going to play sound 2D. And this is going to be Zipline start sound effects. So I don't know if you can hear it, but this is the sound effects that of the character being attached to the zipline. Now we're going to grab the character movement and set a movement mode. And set it to be flying. So play camera shake, play sound up 2D, set flying, disable capsule collision. Now we're going to grab our capsule component. So basically why I'm setting the movement mode to be flying, because we're going to be on the air. So set flying. And here set collision enable to no collision, because I don't want to glitch through the zipline here, because the zipline also has collision. So it's better for us to disable our own collision to not have problems. Now we're going to move capsule to zipline. So now let's see what we got. Let's just compile, save, and press play here. And when I press F, the character just played the montage, and I'm flying. Alright, this is just the start of the code. And now I'm going to move the capsule to the zipline. Now, how are we going to do that? Just basically, when our character is here, when I press F, I want the character to be attached to here, to the zipline. So we're going to do this code right now. So the way we can smoothly attach the character to here is by using the node called move component to. So this is going to smoothly rotate and set the location of our character to the desired location that we want. So I'm going to grab our capsule component, because this node moves the capsule component only. I guess there is no other nodes that can do the same for the mesh. That can do the same, but for the mesh. Now we're going to grab our target relative location and target relative rotation. Before that, I'm going to set the overtime to be .15. Doesn't make that much difference. And I'm going to force the shortest rotation path. Now we're going to do the calculations for attaching the character to the zipline. So firstly, we're going to access our zipline blueprint. I'm going to get it. And I'm going to get sphere start. Also get sphere end. Going to select everything here and collapse to a node. Going to name this calculation for attach character. Calculation for attaching character to zipline. Alright, let's get socket location. Now let's find look at rotation. So the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to find the location, the rotation of two vectors. So let's say, for example, I want to rotate my character to the direction of, based on where this point is, to this point here. So depending if the character is rotated at this direction here, facing this direction, then with this calculation, the character is going to face the rotation based on these 2 points here, where they are located, right? I'm going to show you the result in a bit. So let's continue our calculation here. Let's get actor location. Split that value. And now we're going to get the z-axis of the character and subtract that. Now we're going to get the location of the impact points. I'm going to split it. and I want to get the Z location. So this, I'm basically doing this. I'm basically getting the location of where the sphere trace hits the zipline. So I'm going to get the location. I'm going to get the height of where the impact point just hit the zipline. I'm going to subtract that value with the current actor location, which is the current height of the character. So no matter if the character jumps or no matter the position of the player in the world, it's always going to attach the character to the zipline. And I'm going to multiply this value because I want to get the opposite value of it. So it's if it's negative 180, for example, then it's going to be positive 180. Now I'm going to add to here. So just basically adding the amount of height that we need for Earth to be able to attach to reach the zipline. Now we're going to subtract that value and we're going to choose an offset. This is going to be an offset. So basically the value that you put here, it's going to be custom. It's going to depend on your character's scale. If you have like a big or huge character, then you might consider this value to be lower or higher. So it always depends on your character height and hand position and animation type as well. So I'm going to type mine for, I'm going to type 100 for mine, but I can always change this value later. You can always change this value later if you need to. Now the result value, we're going to place that to the start. I think, yeah, let's place that to the outputs. And I also want to get the location X and location Y. And now let's go to the event graph and place these values in. So here we have our return value. We have to split the structure in here. So we get the location, the Y, and the X. All right. Now let's compile, save, and let's see how that looks like. So when you press F, so it's going to play this perfectly there. That's very cool. So as you can see, I was facing the other direction, and the character, this move capsule component just rotated my character facing where the sphere is and the other sphere is. So based on the rotation of them, I could rotate my character to that rotation value. So no matter if I was rotated to the side here, if I press F, then character is always going to face that direction here. Now what we're going to do after this, we're going to block the inputs. So basically when I press F here, I can move the character around, so I don't want that. So I want to block the player from moving around. So how I can do that? I'm going to create a new variable called block inputs. And I'm going to set this to be true when it finishes moving my capsule component. Into the controls here, I have the movement input of the keyboard. So this is the movement input of the keyboard. If you're using gamepad, you can also add that code here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a branch out of this, get a branch, and get the block inputs. And if the block inputs is true, then we don't want to use anything. So we're not going to be able to move anywhere. I'm going to copy this and do the same here. Right. I'm going to press play now. Now I cannot move. Yeah, now I cannot move at all. Now there we're going to fix the issue where I have the character to be moving like that. The fastest way you can fix this is by going to the flying deceleration flying, and you can put a huge value like 1000, for example. You can fix that. But remember that you have to take this off. So I'm going to let it off just for the purpose of the tutorial, then we can turn it back on if we need it. Now, after we block the inputs, we're going to move capsule to end target and play loop sound effect. So we're going to move the capsule to the end target. So what's going to happen here? So after we're done with moving the character to the right location, right rotation, we're going to be in the air here. So we're going to move the capsule to the end target. What is the end target? This one right here. So it's just going to smoothly set the location of it, and then it's going to slide down like so. So I'm going to get a branch. I'm going to get a sequence, and I want to play a sound effect first. Actually, I want to spawn a sound 2D. I'm going to choose Zipline loop sound effect. And I also want to move component 2. Now I'm going to create a custom event. And this is going to be stop capsule movement. Going to plug that to stop. Going to grab the capsule component. That's the component that's going to be moved. And now let's do the calculations for sliding, for ziplining. So let's get the PP zipline. Let's get sphere end. Going to select everything and collapse to a node. Call this calculation for sliding. Now I'm going to get socket rotation. I'm going to split the return value. And now we're going to drag and drop the X row to here, to the outputs, and also the Y. Now I'm going to get socket location of the sphere end. I'm going to subtract it by 100. Going to put that into the outputs. And I'm going to subtract this CER value here to 180. So I think this is basically for fixing the character rotation. So you can add 180. So if you don't have this issue of the character rotating to the wrong side, you can exclude this part here. So let's just compile, save, and let's see what we got. Oh, actually I have to set the location here. So let's drag here the Y to Y, X to row, and Z. And the return value here. I can actually organize this better. Alright, let's just compile, save, and let's see what we got. And press F. Wow. Carrot just teleports there. That's because of the overtime. The overtime is the duration of interpolation. It's the time that it takes from an actor to go from the other side. In this case, it's capsule component. So it's the time that it takes for the capsule component to reach the desired direction, rotation, and location. So we're going to choose a value of 2. So it's going to take 2 seconds for us to reach the target. We're going to is in and is out because I don't want to teleport my character. And I'm going to press play here, press F. There we go. Yeah, my character is just tilted to like this. I don't know why. But I think we can fix that later. Don't need to worry about it now. We can fix this value later. So now I'm going to continue the execution of this sound effect here. So I'm going to promote it to a variable. Now we're going to set up our animation blueprint. So I have added some custom codes here. Don't need to worry about that. But out of the third-person character, we're going to get is ziplining. So you just need to know if the character is ziplining or not. So I'm going to promote it to a variable and connect that to there. So here I cast my player character and compile save. Now we're going to go to the animation graph, go to the default locomotion. So let's create a new state. This is going to be start or start zipline, doesn't matter. Start zipline. And out of the idle, I'm going to plug that into there. Double click on here. And I'm going to get the animation called leg balance and the swing idle. Now I'm going to get it to a layer to blend per bone because I want to blend both animations into one. I'm going to get spine 1, the bone name, and the blend depth is going to be 3. Now here on the transition rule, I want to get the ziplining. So when the character is ziplining, then we're going to go from idle to start ziplining. Sometimes you might need the transition from walk run, but we're going to set up that later. Let's see if it's good. This is going to work. Yeah, it's changing state. Let me see. Yeah. So I think it's looping. Yeah. So I'm going to select both of them and disable this loop animation option. I'm going to save. And this is just the start of the animation. Let's see. This is just for starting the animation, but we're not going to keep that position forever, right? So after we do this, then we want to loop. So I'm going to add state, and I'm going to add loop zipline. So out of this, I'm going to make a transition rule here. And inside here, I'm going to get swing idle. Connect that to there. And this animation can be loopy. So I'm going to get the ratio swing balance. So as soon as this animation ends, then I want to move on to the next transition. I'm going to add 1 here. There we go. So let's see if that's going to work. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So let's set the transition blend time, to 1. And play. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. I think that's going to look a lot better when we simulate the legs physics. Now after this, I'm going to go to the for loop. And the transition here is just that if it's not ziplining anymore, then we can fall. That's it. And the blend time is going to be .4. I think that's pretty much all you gotta do here. We don't need to do much things. Now, going back to the third person character, we need to make the character to stop. We need to stop the movement of the capsule. So here we can create a custom event called cancel zipline event. So we're going to play work camera shake. I'm going to add shake. So if you want to see the values, here it is. The values for the camera shake. Now let's set a movement mode to be falling. Now let's set our capsule collision back on. Set collision enabled. Collision enabled. Querying physics. Now we're going to turn off all variables related to ziplining. So let's drag and drop can zipline and is ziplining. And also block inputs. Now let's fix the capsule rotation. Basically, that's when I press play here, the character is rotating to the wrong side. I think that's because of the rotation that I've placed here. It has to be rotated to be the right position. So let's reset the rotation values here. Like so, and let's rotate that. Actually, let's rotate it like this. And rotate it like this. There's something to do with the rotation of this. 0. Let's try again. Okay, now it's not rotating anymore. So I think it's because the rotation value here on the X row has to be 0. So let's see if I change it to be 40, for example. Now, when I press F, now the carrot is going to rotate that, like that. So just pay attention to that. I'm going to set it to be 0. Like so. Now I'm going to fix the capsule rotation. Let's get the capsule component here. And here on the details panel, I'm going to get the hidden in-game option. I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to press on play here. When I press F, as you can see, the capsule is rotated. So I want to fix that before the character can touch the ground, can fall off, can detach from the zipline. So I want to fix set world rotation of the capsule component. And you get world rotation, the capsule component. And that's going to fix our capsule component. Let's check it out. Cancel zipline event. Yeah, in order for us to cancel, we need to call this event here. So let's say cancel zipline event. And I'm going to get out of this, I'm going to want to know if the character is currently ziplining. If yes, then I'm going to get another branch and I'm going to get the zipline. I'm going to get the sphere end and the world location of it and the distance vector based on the current actor rotation location. Based on the current actor location, it's going to get the difference of that. So it's going to get the distance vector based from my current location and the sphere end location, which is this one right here. So I'm going to compile save. Now, if it's less than 400, then if that condition is true, then we can cancel the ziplining event. So as soon as the character reaches a distance that is very close to the end, then we're going to call the function to cancel the ziplining event. So we're going to stop ziplining. I'm going to do once. And once it's completed, I want to get just to want to reset the value. And once it's completed, then it's going to cancel it and it's going to reset it after we finished ziplining. I'm going to test it out. So here we go. We can all walk. We can walk normally now, but the capsule trace, the capsule component is not fixed yet. Now we're going to stop capsule movement. I think we need to stop it first. Let's see if that's going to work now. Yeah, I think we need to stop it first or after we set the world rotation. So I'm going to delete this and press play. They should fix the capsule before we touch the ground. There we go. And all right, set this. And now we're going to play our montage. So play montage. Get the mesh. Get the montage. Slide to end. Now we're finally going to stop the loop zipline. So I'm going to get is valid. So out of this, I'm going to stop the audio. Let's see the result. So it should stop playing the audio and play the animation. Let's try again. All right, that's very good. But I think the character should go a little bit more further. So let's adjust it. So in case if you want to do that, then I'm going to get this retrace and move it a little bit there. And or yeah, I think you can do that for fixing it. But yeah, I think you should. The other way around, if you want to fix that, then you can set it here. Then as we are calculating the distance between our character and that sphere and trace of that sphere and object, we can do it here. So the last value you put here, the further the character is going to stop. So I'm going to put 300 here. That's going to be a good value for me in my case. Okay, so that's going to make our character to automatically stop on the zipline when it reaches the end. Now I want to get an event here to simulate the legs. So what I want to do, I want to get a delay node of 2. And after this delay, I want to set all bodies below simulate physics, get a mesh. And out of here in ball name, I'm going to write the ball name. So I'm going to make return name and write site R. If you want to simulate the legs, I'm going to duplicate this, and here I'm going to write thigh left. Now I'm going to duplicate this again. Actually, I want to set all simulate blend set. Set all bodies below physics blend weight. And I'm going to type pelvis. So that's going to affect the general body. And that's the amount of physics they want it to be simulated. So I'm going to choose .7 and plug that to there. And I want to call that function, that event. Here I want to stop set simulate physics. Here I want to stop the simulation because the character is just stopped from moving in the zipline. Now if I want to activate the physics, then it's going to be here. Simulate physics. Simulate legs. Let's just compile save. press F. I think it's not being called. Oh, I have to take this option on. So compile save and press F. Now the legs are going to be simulated as well. I think you can do it in slow motion if you want to see. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm going to turn off the visibility of the capsule component in the game. Now let me see if there is something missing. So if you are right here and you press F, you're also able to hold it. You're also able to zipline. But as you can see, when I press F again, nothing happens. I think I'm not disabling or enabling one variable here. After we cancel Zipline event, we play Montage. And after this Montage, I want to set can Zipline again. So that's enabled the possibility for a character to zipline again. I'm going to turn that on. Now here, press play. Zipline again. So no matter if you are idle, if you are on the ground, or if you are jumping, you can always hold the zipline. Now in this case, I think we have some problem here. That's because of the animation blueprint, I guess. So let's go here. As you can see, I have a little bit big state machines for the default locomotion. But let me see when I jump. So when I'm walking and when I jump, it goes to this transition state here. So from that transition state, we can start ziplining. So we can drag that to there. And I'm going to copy this ziplining here, condition state. And I'm going to drag that in. Or if you are fall looping, then you can also start ziplining. So that's going to enable the transition when we are landing or falling, to be able to change the transition from looping from falling to ziplining. So let's press play now. Let's test it out. So firstly, I'm going to try on ground. So when I press F, the character can zipline. And if I also try to grab it here, it works as well. This is too much height. I cannot reach. All right. Press F. Character can zipline. And if I try to jump and attach it, then it can work as well. Now you can also set the blend time duration that it takes for you to go from the transition from loop to start ziplining. So you can always change the settings here if you want to. I'm going to set the duration to be 0.4. Let's see if I can get a more smooth position. There we go. Now I think that's going to be it for the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can comment down below. and let me see what you think. The project files are going to be on the Patreon page. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.